My name is Dr. Story. I've been a doctor of chiropractic for over 28 years, and I have a lot of experience not only treating patients, but I have seen a number of chiropractors enter our town and skedaddle out of our town. I have seen some chiropractors achieve great financial success. I have also seen other chiropractors achieve great clinical success. And in this video, I'm going to tell you 3 ways to find yourself a great chiropractor. Now, here's the central theme and how I'm trying to help you. The problem with chiropractic is also its strength. Every single chiropractor is unique and different. Chiropractic is very doctor-centric, and what that means is that the skill of the doctor is what you're relying on. Some doctors have greater skills at some treatments versus others. What this amounts to is that if you see a chiropractor and that particular chiropractor does not help you, it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole profession is bad. It means that that chiropractor wasn't able to help you. Maybe a different technique might help you, or a different method of chiropractic. As opposed to that, in medicine, if you go to 10 different doctors and they all give you Tylenol, well, all the doctors essentially gave you the same treatment. So if Tylenol doesn't work, it doesn't matter if you go to a different doctor and they give you Tylenol. Tylenol is the treatment. So the skill and the talent and the ability of the chiropractor is a strength within our profession as well as a bad thing in our profession. So the first thing, if I was searching for a chiropractor, is someone who utilizes multiple techniques. Someone who has a lot of experience doing different types of methods within the chiropractic profession. The reason this is important is because for the first 8 years of my profession, I only did one technique, and that was Gonstead. I drank the Kool-Aid when I was in school. I figured of all the different techniques, Gonstead was the most scientific and, in my humble opinion, the best one I wanted to learn. I kind of have a scientific mind, so I gravitated towards that the best. And there was an old saying that you can be a master of one. There was a saying, and it was, you can either be a jack of all trades or a master of one. And that was their way of essentially selling their seminars so that you would only attend their seminars. Now, there is some truth to that to some degree, but you need to be, in my humble opinion, a more well-rounded doctor than only doing one thing, because there's an old saying that if all you have is a hammer, then every problem looks like a nail. The first 8 years of my professional life, I really only did one technique, and I gotta say, I'm proud of that because I got really good at it, number one, and number two, I helped a lot of people. But the problem was I also did not help a lot of people because I was missing out on soft tissue techniques, I was missing out on nutritional approaches, I was missing out on patients who did not want to be adjusted with the hands, and I kind of had an epiphany. Actually, it wasn't me. It was a book that I read. I learned that, hey, maybe I'm going to start opening myself up to other techniques and other ways of doing things. And the first thing that I did was I took a seminar on how to utilize the arthrostim, which is a very gentle, soft technique that does not involve cracking, that type of thing. You're never going to see anybody use this on YouTube because so many people love to see the noises in the adjustment, that this is so gentle it doesn't use any noises. So what happened was I bought the instrument, got some extra training, I learned how to use the instrument, and lo and behold, I had a patient who was a medical doctor who came into my office, and I was using the arthrostim, and all of a sudden I started getting a tremendous amount of referrals to my office from this particular medical doctor. And the reason why was because it was such a gentle technique that she felt comfortable referring older patients to me, people in their 80s and 90s. And because I now had this ability to adjust people gently rather than the old Gonstead style that I used to be known for in my town, it was good for business. But it was good for people too, because I started being able to help more people. So that I started to learn that if one technique doesn't work on a person, let's try this method. And I started becoming a technique junkie, if you will, just learning all these different techniques. Some of these techniques were awesome. Soft tissue techniques, ability to actively move a body part and release tension in a myofascial area was just very, very useful. When I personally look for a chiropractor, I don't want one guy who thinks that one technique is the end-all be-all. And I've noticed that when patients are moving out of our area, I give them this advice, because a lot of people are moving out of our area. I'm in California, and everybody wants to live here, but no one wants to pay the taxes or deal with other things that are going on right now. But they leave and they say, Dr. Story, how do I find someone, a good chiropractor? And I tell them the first thing you need to look at is to look for someone who understands and knows how to do multiple techniques within the profession. And that way, instead of being treated one way, the same way all the time, the doctor is probably going to be open towards trying different methods to give you the best results. The second thing to look for when it comes to finding a great chiropractor is a red flag. And that is if they seem like a salesperson and they present to you a problem in order to correct some type of curve of your spine or to correct a problem and want to charge you up front a lot of money. This should be a red flag to you. This should send signals up in your head, and most of the time it does send signals up in your head, but so many people fall for this, I'm going to say. There's 2 people in our town that do this, and usually what ends up, how do I know? Because what happens is patients come into our office and they're scared to death. Oh my God, I have a disc herniation, or I have a swollen disc, or I have this weird curve of my spine. And this doctor told me he can correct it, but it was going to be $7,000. But he asked me to pay $5,000 up front, and things like that. So you hear these stories and then you examine the patient and it's nowhere near what they perceived. And so these prepay plans, this is what we call them. How did this doctor learn how to give this presentation? I'm going to tell you. He went to a seminar. And let me tell you a story, because I'm Dr. Story. This is not just in our profession. I was seeing a dentist many, many years ago, and I would go in for my dental cleanings every 6 months and so forth. And then all of a sudden, one day, the dental hygienist says, open your mouth. I open my mouth, and she gasps and goes, oh, just like that. And she says, do you drink coffee? And I go, no, I don't drink coffee. Do you drink a lot of teas? I go, no, I don't drink a lot of teas. And she goes, do you smoke cigarettes or chew tobacco? And I'm sitting here going, lady, do I look like I smoke cigarettes? Or, And then she started in with the sales thing. And because I've heard this before in our profession, and there's other professions that are doing these types of things too, these prepay plans, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh my God, I can totally tell these people went to a seminar to learn how to sell. And when people are good at sales, you don't know you're being sold. But it's a red flag that if you're looking for a chiropractor and they want thousands of dollars up front, in my humble opinion, that is a red flag. That's not the chiropractor I would want to see. If it's the chiropractor you want to see, that's fine. Knock yourself out. That's what floats your boat. Pay the guy thousands of dollars. It's not my money. But most of the time, what does that guy Barnum said? There's a sucker born every minute. And to me, I see enough people that their BS meter goes off, that they show up in my office and tell me the story, that I don't think it's a wise business decision, although these guys are probably making money. But I think that the quality of the treatment is really what you're looking for. You're looking for a chiropractor that's going to genuinely help you. And it should be, in my humble opinion, that if they're not helping you, they need to change course, and you need to be not locked into a contract. So, take that for what it's worth. The third most important thing to look for is, does the chiropractor examine you using movement or motion or some type of functional analysis rather than looking at static x-rays? looking at x-rays for misalignment is a very old-fashioned way of doing chiropractic. It's outdated. It doesn't mesh with the current research of how we know the body functions. And so I have changed my course many years ago, not looking at x-rays for misalignments, but rather looking at the patient themselves and how well they function. And this is what I recommend when my patients, for example, leave the state and go somewhere else, to look for someone that's going to look at how their body functions. And how do you know this is occurring? Well, does the chiropractor ask you to bend forward, touch your toes, lean back, bend to the side, rotate your spine? Is he observing your posture during movement? Maybe that chiropractor is using his hands to analyze how the spine moves. So he may be placing his fingers, for example, in the neck and having you rotate back and forth to assess the movement capability of the joints of the spine. What the chiropractic adjustment is going to achieve is it's going to achieve a more normal range of motion of the joints of your spine and your extremities. Whether the chiropractor is adjusting your knees, your hips, your feet, your spine, doesn't matter. The adjustment helps the range of motion of the joint become more normal. When this occurs, it actually improves neurological function. And when I say neurological function, meaning there's what's called an afferent nerve that's connected to the joints of the spine that go up to the brain, that tell the brain what's happening in the body and how well things are moving. And then there's an efferent nerve that comes from the brain to the muscles of the body as well as the organs. And that allows the body to function at its highest peak efficiency. So when someone has a pinched nerve, for example, when you adjust the spine around that area of the pinched nerve, you're trying to normalize movement so that there's less irritation to the nerve. And that would be a good functional exam. They may have you lie down on the table and have you lift your legs or move your arms and see how well the joints move. I have plenty of examples of how we do that on my channel if you go to the playlist area and go to examples of treatments. So if you want to see what it looks like, you're certainly welcome to watch some of my videos or other videos that do this. But this is in contrast to many years ago. Chiropractors would take an x-ray of a person, an entire x-ray, mind you, of their head, their neck, their middle back, their lower back, their pelvis, and look at this, draw lines on the x-ray to discover where the misalignments were. And that did work to some degree. The only disadvantage of that is when you x-ray all those areas, your brain, your thyroid, your lungs, your breasts, your gonads, your adrenal glands, and all other glands around there are getting radiated. And it's not worth the radiation in order to determine where to adjust a spine, where to adjust them in their spine. It's better to do a better functional exam to try to uncover how the body functions, and because that's really what we're changing. We're not trying to make you look good on an x-ray, we're trying to make you look good in real life. So that old antiquated way of looking at x-rays, it did work to a certain degree, and it got chiropractors results for almost 100 years. But times have changed and we know a little bit more now. So I recommend finding a chiropractor that uses a motion or functional exam to determine what the course of treatment would be rather than x-rays. The other problem with x-rays, and you just don't think about it until these things come up, is if x-rays were so important to determine where to adjust, what do you do when a pregnant woman comes in? You're certainly not going to x-ray their abdomen when the baby is in there. What if a person has had a history of cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, thyroid cancer? You certainly don't want to be overutilizing x-rays. And that's the reason why, as far as I'm concerned, the best thing that x-rays can tell you is if there's a major problem or if a patient is failing to improve with functional treatments. There may be something on the x-ray that is useful in seeing, but you're literally looking for red flags when it comes to viewing x-rays. And there's much better ways to view problems. And that would be, for example, an MRI that does not involve any ionizing radiation. So I hope this has been of value to you. If you're looking for a chiropractor, my website is down below in the description. But if you're looking for someone, I would use these 3 things to look for to make sure that you're getting the best care possible from, in my humble opinion, is the greatest profession out there. If you have specific questions in regard to blood pressure, your own health and wellness, we actually do Zoom appointments as well as telephone appointments. We do these Zoom and telephone appointments from all around the world. So you're more than welcome to call our office, schedule an actual Zoom or a telephone consultation with me. And what we're gonna do is we are going to section off a piece of our day just to speak to you and answer all your questions. So if you're interested in that, there's a link down below. You can get to my website and then just contact us. Now, there is a fee for a Zoom or telephone consultation, so it's not free, but I can promise you this, you're gonna get your money's worth.